the tricky thing my dad did was he ended up hiring my wife to work.
What the? Andrew, how did you get started in real estate?
It all started off with a bet from my father. So at the time I was about 20 years old, and I was working at an oil changers in Petaluma. And at the time, I was just enjoying my freedom and working with all my friends. And he wanted to, help me get into a career. And so one day he made me a bet. I don't remember the exact number. I want to say or something like 30,000, right? So at the time I was making $2,000 a month on a salary, working 12 hours a day. But I didn't mind it because like I said, I was working with my friends and I kind of liked what I did. And so when he made me the bet that he was going to make something like 30,000 in the next 30 days, I had no problem betting against him. And I kind of forgot about it. And then 30 days later, he shows back up and he shows me, his commission checks that he did it. And so I put my 2-week notice at the oil changers and had to start training a new manager. And the whole deal was, it was like a full immersion. So I was living on my own, and I didn't have a curfew. Obviously I was 20 years old, but I moved out from my parents when I was about 17. And so I was used to having that sort of freedom and, paying for all my own stuff. And so part of the deal was I had to move back in with my parents. And so they actually gave me a curfew at 20 years old and, were very strict on me. I ended up getting my license and working with my parents. At the time, they were doing real estate, loans, property management. And that's at the time I met my wife. So we started dating at that time. So I don't think he liked that. That was another distraction that I was doing. And so we kind of separated and went our separate ways. So I ended up working for a competing real estate company. And I remember they set me on a 2-week training. So me and this other agent, a new agent, we would commute together. She was great. She was, at the time, like I said, I was 20 years old. I think she was in her 40s. And so she would pick me up early in the morning and we drove to, I think it was Pleasanton, every day for 2 weeks. And she would make me little juices to drink in the morning. And I think she's still in real estate, but in a different city. And so we did that. And they would literally pick people out of the training. It was a very large room, like a ballroom. And they would pick people randomly and they would take them, either door knocking or make phone calls. Nice. So at the end of the day, they would come back in and talk about their experiences and, what they did to get business that day. And so I loved it. And then so I came back and I worked for that company for a little while. And then the tricky thing my dad did was he ended up hiring my wife to work.
What the?
Yeah. So once he did that, at first I didn't like it. And then that kind of brought me back into the company. So it was a full-on family business.
Yeah.
And
that's a very strategic hire.
Exactly. So he kind of knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And, it worked out and we had a good run and he ended up retiring in 2007. So in 2007, when he retired, then same thing. I kind of went off on my own.
Very cool. What did you think when you first saw his commission check? Like after he put up his end of the bargain, he was like, "Yo, let me show you." It
really expanded my mind. It was kind of like that movie Wolf of Wall Street. That scene when he asked Leonardo DiCaprio how much money he makes.
How much money?
I don't know, 70,000 last month.
And when he said it, he was very a matter of fact. And the other guy, Jonah Hill, he said, "Well, prove it to me. And if you prove it to me, then I'll quit my job."
It's fine. Hey, listen, I quit.
And then he did. And so the thing about real estate is you don't always make that kind of money every single month. I'm sure some agents do, but It is possible to have months where you're making, even more, maybe 50,000, 60,000 a month.
Sure. Yeah. Depending on the agent, it's like any business. It's hard to get started, but then once you are well established, because at that point your dad had been doing it for how many years?
Well, he was probably in his 40s, so he started pretty young as well.
Yeah.
And so he had a pretty good history. And that's the one thing I like is when I go to different conferences, like real estate seminars, I love meeting agents from all over the country, even different, maybe even Canada, and hearing their stories. And they're real people.
Yeah. And
knowing that some of them are making, upwards to the millions per year selling real estate, it's very, basically this career or this job is basically like a self-development journey with like a pay structure attached to it,
Yeah.
And so that's why it's almost like a sport or a game, and you're always evolving. But I do. I thank my dad now. So, we're not like the closest of, father and son relationship, but I do, make a point to thank him for getting me into this business.
To think if you would have stood at that job for you could have gotten trapped there for 3, 4, 5 years. No,
I eventually would have had to do something else, but I was having fun, and I think he just looked at it like I was wasting I was just kind of wasting my time.
Yeah, the opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so good. What was the name of the other company you had first started with?
Yeah, they're not even around anymore. It was Prudential.
Prudential, nice.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little more? The lady who was taking you around, who making juice for you? Wait, what was?
So, she was super nice, and she kind of figured if we're both commuting, it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours, to get to Pleasanton and back. And so she figured, let's just go together.
Yeah.
And so she would pick me up in the morning, and I would always offer to, take turns driving, but she was fine driving every day. But I think she just liked the company. So she'd pick me up, and then, she'd bring me it was not even like regular juice. It was like carrot juice or something,
That's so cool.
So, she kept me healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, she knew.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And then afterwards you went back to work with the previous, you said, what was the name of it? At that time? Prudential, cool.
Yeah.
But then with your dad, who was at Prudential?
No, my dad was an independent broker.
Independent, got it.
Yeah, he had his own company. So when I first started working with my dad, he was super busy. So he didn't really have the time to, train me and teach me all the in and outs of certain things. So it was kind of his suggestion, maybe I go to another company and, kind of learn the ropes a little bit. Cool. And then, for me, I just looked at that like a way out, I mean, who wants to, at that age, work with their dad day in and day out,
But then you eventually went back with your dad.
Yeah, I went back because, he hired my wife to work there as a processor. And, it just kind of brought us all back together.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. And then after that, what did the journey look like afterwards?
So he kind of always wanted me to keep, like I said, I started when I was 20, got my license. And then he kind of encouraged me to get my broker's license. And so by the time I was 25, I had gotten my broker's license, which meant that I didn't have to work for another company. I can just work on my own. And that's what I did for about 5 years. Cool.
And then how was that, work for 5 years?
I liked it. I mean, I'm not really a corporate type of guy. So, doing the weekly meetings and just certain things like having to ask permission for certain stuff. And so I like being independent, but at this point of my career, I like working for a big company. I'm with Coldwell Banker right now. So I like having the background and all the resources that they bring and the marketing and, I feel like for me at this point of the game, I'm all about my clients and making sure that every base is covered on their end. And so if any issues were to come up or, anything, I feel like working with Coldwell Banker is going to benefit them the most.
I love your story of how you got started. It's just like, wait, what's going on?
I feel like the typical agent actually uses real estate as a second career. So I think the average real estate agent is, whenever you look it up, it's always someone like in their 40s or 50s. And so they kind of have like a full-on career, and then something happens, maybe they get laid off, or maybe they just get sick and tired of it, and then they look at real estate an option because of the flexibility. And so for a couple of years after working with my dad, I did try other things. I worked at a car dealership. I sold, timeshare, and, working with other companies' schedules and then going back to real estate and knowing that real estate was there before, the freedom really is what it's, the best part. So the unlimited income is nice, but just knowing that you don't have to ask someone permission to take your birthday off or, Mother's Day. So you can kind of plan your schedule around your business.
Yeah. No, that's so good. How was it selling timeshares?
It was interesting. So I did it for about a month selling the actual timeshares. And the one tricky thing is most of the people that are in there already own timeshares, right? So there are a few people that, never have owned a timeshare or don't know much about it, but it seems like it's almost like its own lifestyle. Right. So there's a lot of retired teachers, firefighters, police officers, because they get to retire fairly young. And so once they're retired in their mid 50s, they have their whole rest of their life to travel. And so if you know how to work it, timeshare is very cost effective. And so I did that for about a month, and then I actually went into marketing. So I did marketing for about a year and a half for the timeshare.
That's so cool. Yeah. Do you have a timeshare?
I want one. So yeah. I still want one. But right now with 4 kids, basically they're all teenagers, just doing their sports and school kind of keeps us busy. Yeah. I can imagine getting one through traveling a little bit more.
That's so cool. Where would you get a timeshare at?
Probably mainly Hawaii. And they have a lot of them in Florida. So, somewhere on the beach.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Super good. Well, cool. Thanks for sharing your story, how you got started, and no, it's so good. I'm so glad I love these stories. It's so good.
Yeah, glad it worked out.
Cool. All right. Cool. Signing off.
All right. Later.
Thanks for watching my video. To learn more tips and tricks how to save money or make money in any real estate market, please like and subscribe. My goal is to keep giving you valuable content that you can use. Any questions, please comment. Thank you.